ADD symmetrical thing with me.
Sorry.
All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. This is all, the start of training camp is exciting for every coach on our staff and in America for that. This will be a fun training camp. And it's going to be very, very competitive training camp. We're going to continue some of the things that we started in the spring in terms of practice tempo and practice structure in more competitive situations, I should say, to put our team. And the makeup of this team, we're only really, 3/4 of the way through. We're about to go into our fourth quarter, which is training camp for us, but it's 3/4 from a leadership standpoint, from a work standpoint, a mentality. What I like so far, as I could describe it, 3/4 of the way through preparing for this season, is we have some very good vocal leaders, but we have more than a handful of quiet, confident leaders. I'm very encouraged, especially over the last couple weeks, with our captains, our leadership committee, and the meetings we've been having in terms of their focus and resolve. And, there's excitement for this season. And then, coming off last season, it was disappointing. It stunk in terms of a one-loss record. And that's embarrassing for me in terms of the record, not the way our kids played, not the way our kids competed. I want that to be known. And I'm not disappointed in them. They fought tooth and nail all the way through the last game of the year, as evidenced by 2 buzzer beater losses in the month of November. But I tell you what, guys, when you have a season like that, and I said this in Vegas at the media days, but it makes you go back and reevaluate everything in your program, staff, philosophies, the way you train, the way you recruit, the way you develop leadership, how you practice, even some schemes on offense and defense. And I tell you, it forces you to go back and reevaluate it so it'll never happen again. And I made a staff change. We made a little bit of a change on offense in terms of philosophy. We made a few practice changes. But I tell you, the other thing, and I say practice changes in terms of what I mentioned earlier in competitive situations. But the thing that I probably did for me, and I think we're all like this in our jobs, as you go back and reevaluate everything, the longer I looked at it and the more I talked to mentors, fellow head coaches, our staff, it just reinforced a lot of the things that I believe in, we believe in here at Utah State, and how we've won games prior to last year. And that's our plan to win, and that's our core values. That's how we recruit. It's not changing. It's how we train in the weight room, not changing. A little bit tweaks here and there with some new stuff in terms of conditioning and stuff, but there were some core philosophies that are absolutely at the forefront of winning football games, and that's been done here at Utah State. That will not change. Do we want the result of last year to change? Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of resolve in the coaching staff and the players to get that done, because that's what we want. We want the best product out there for Aggie fans, our alumni, our school, our university, everybody that supports us. And when it comes down to it, the bottom line is winning close games. And this is a good league. I look around in our Mountain Division, there's 6 returning starting quarterbacks in our division. And then next year at this time, I'm just going to go ahead and predict it for Vegas media days and this conference and this press conference. Everybody's going to want to know there's no returning quarterbacks. So those are facts, and we'll talk about that. But it's just interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen it going in my 21st year of Division I coaching that your whole league has a returning quarterback. And there's going to be close games. We have to win our share of those close games. And it's been well stated what happened last year in close games. And what we need to do is win a couple of those early and get the mojo and the chemistry going, and that stuff goes downhill. And I remember feeling that and seeing that, and even in 13 and 14 in those years when you get some mojo and you win some close games. So those are kind of highlights really of the last 8 months, I think, maybe compiled into 5 minutes. But I would love to talk about any individual players or position battles or anything like that. So instead of just going through the whole roster and spending all that time, I'll go ahead and let you guys fire away right now.
Do the tends to preseason picks, preseason all conference predictions, things like that. Do you pay attention to that stuff?
Well, Brad, pay attention. Define the length of pay attention. Now, y'all can laugh a little bit longer. I got off the plane in Vegas and I saw it. Who can't? I mean, somebody tells me about it. Doug says something to me about it. I see an email. I see a tweet or something. I mean, you see it. I did not dwell on it one bit, okay? And the first thing I thought, and then I had to go study the West Division, but I remembered, well, the team that the media picked to come in last year won our division. And I thought to myself this, and I said this in Vegas, the media members that picked it, they're human too. They're picking it off of what happened last year. We were human too, and we struggled last year. That's why you see what you saw in terms of the preseason predictions. Did our players see it? I guarantee you. Are we dwelling on it? Absolutely not. Will it be some internal motivation? Possibly. That's kind of where I think about preseason predictions.
In some of those close games, who are some of the offensive playmakers that could make that difference, like a couple years ago and in the past?
Obviously, the guy handling the ball is going to play a big part in that, the quarterback. I think when you have some targets out on the outside that've got length, Dax Raymond, Ronquavian Tarver, those are the guys that when third down catches have to be made to keep a drive alive, your best players have to come through and make good plays. And I know going into training camp, those two guys that I just mentioned on the perimeter, there are many others that will have a chance for those roles, but I've seen those guys do it. I know about those guys and believe in those guys. When you talk about offensive playmakers, there's going to have to guys that make those plays, and they may have single coverage mismatches. Those kind of guys have to make plays. I'm reminded of some few years ago when sometimes you don't play very good on offense, and there's going to be those nights, but somebody has to take over a game, and you guys already probably know what I'm talking about, but there's been some times where one guy can take over a game, and that's why, players make plays and they win games, because at some point that does have to happen in those close games.
I know you don't want to go position by position or anything like that, but the defensive line probably were the most, for lack of a better term, inexperienced.
No, it's an accurate term, yeah.
So what's the focus there, and some of the guys that have had some experience line, but only one returning starter?
I think, Eric, it's an accurate statement that you made, and will be one of the defensive staff's primary focuses in this training camp is who are those guys going to be. We have traditionally played a rotation on the D-line. That'll never change. We have played two almost every year I've been here as an assistant or a head coach in this odd front defense. We've played usually 3 nose guards. Not all equal reps, but 3 nose guards. Hello, Eli. How are you, buddy? And so that will continue. G-Mac Schuster's played a lot. Chris Unga's played a little bit with going to be a bigger role now. Moelika Waske has played a little bit last year as a true freshman, and he's going to have a bigger role. We're going to cross-train Mo from nose to DN. Mo's going to play both. G-Mac and Chris will be primarily noses. You look at D-end, Ian Tongiai's played a good role every year. I mean, he didn't even redshirt. He's played since his true freshman year in 13. Case will be the same this year. Coming out of spring, Wale, Jacoby Wildman, those guys really have good motors. Really proud of Wale and all the progress he's made. As a true freshman, redshirt, I remember getting that kid out of St. Louis and knowing how far he had to come, and that's an outside linebacker that now weighs 270-something. Now at D-end and self-made man, and obviously, one of the car wreck guys. And, oh, man, I mean, to see him come back from that is, he's the last. I mean, the other guys have graduated, and but it's a miracle, right? That he's in the spot that he's at, and he plays with the high motor. And then there's some guys that will have to form roles in training camp. Those guys will be Logan Lee, Devon Anderson, a new junior college transfer we're excited about, Nami Tuitu'u, a true freshman from Mesa. And those two guys were in this recruiting class, and it's full go with those guys. And Jake Templeton's another one that can be a little cross-trained. Right now we're going to keep him at D end instead of nose, and so he can go back and forth. He and Logan Lee had their moments in spring, and then they also got banged up. So some more time to be able to evaluate those guys.
Coach, who are 5 or so guys who didn't play a year ago outside of Dax Raymond that you expect to make immediate contributions this season?
Dax doesn't count?
Dax doesn't count.
Okay. I would say Baron Gajkowski, right off the top of my head, competing for playing time in the secondary and probably will play on the majority of special teams. It'd be a redshirt freshman free safety, okay, out of Lone Peak. Did you say didn't play at all or didn't play a lot? I want to be accurate.
Play
here.
a lot.
Okay.
Play a lot.
Jaron Colston Green was very much a role player, spot player last year, and I've said this, and so it's not surprising. Probably was the most improved player on the offense in the spring, and I know he's going into his senior year, and I'm excited about JCG on the outside, the perimeter. David Woodward, redshirt freshman, outside linebacker. He'll be the F, out of Washington. And he also has a chance to play some nickel when we want to go bigger nickel. Braxton Gunther in terms of special teams, and I think that's one that you'll see. Woods Cross, another in-state guy. There are several old linemen, Dimitri Kalifua, Amu McMoore, Ty Shaw, those 3 young freshmen. Those guys are all in the top 8 right now as we go. And Sean Taylor coming off a redshirt year at right tackle.
The Mountain Division of the Mountain West was the toughest it's been since Utah State was accepted into the league. What do you do to combat the strides that the league has made? What are the biggest things you need to do this season to combat the strides that have been made the last couple of years in the Mountain Division?
Just find ways to win close games. I mean, I think we're recruiting at a high level, and I think you guys know what I think about this class coming in compared to every class we've had. We're doing that. You have to win close games. Other guys have closed the gap on you, but even as I say they've closed the gap, and it's a very competitive division, I go back and think about 13 and 14, and I've looked at it and studied it, and when you don't go to a bowl game, you have a whole lot more time at home to study that, unfortunately. We won close games those years. I'm not sure we were far ahead of some of those teams as some people think. We found ways to win close games. We got mojo, we got some chemistry, and it's kind of started rolling, and we got in a close game and said, get it to the fourth quarter, we'll find a way to win. And more times than not, we won our fair share, which is kind of the quote I had earlier, of those games, and when you do that, gives you a really good season. So I think that's some of the things it's got to come down to.
Other in-state schools have, already been having practices. Have your guys been antsy about getting out there?
Oh yeah, they're excited. We're starting a little earlier for us in the past, later than some of the other teams in the state. I think that's why, they're excited to get out. And this year is a little bit different of a training camp schedule. No two-a-days. And we've done, Coach Dave Scholes, our head strength and conditioning coach, and I have we've done more studies in terms of like where our soft tissue issues and injuries, you have both of them in training camp have come from. And so kind of tweak some of the practices. as also as you're looking at the up-tempo with the pace of the offense. And so there's some smaller things, maybe unnoticeable, but our players are aware of them. And so we're changing a little bit of the length of some of the practices. And I don't think you have to, you don't have to go 2.5, 3 hours anymore as fast as these guys are going and as hard as we're playing or practicing in terms of the pace too. So there's some different little things, and if you guys want to know more about that, I can go in depth later about it. But
So is this the first time since you've been back at Utah State that you haven't had 2-a-days during fall camp?
yeah, but last year we only had one.
Yeah, okay.
I only had one last year. The second one I canceled, and we went to the movies, and I was the best head coach in America for a minute. You know what? Honestly, the last 2 years, I think we've had 1 2-a-day. So, when I started at Tulsa with Steve Craigthorpe, and then even here with Coach Anderson, we didn't have a tremendous amount of 2-a-days. I think hopefully we've become smarter, not just coaches, but strength and conditioning staffs and everything, and how you're training your players through the summer. It's just changed, but we had very little changes at Utah State right now with the new rules that the NCAA gave us. I know some programs had to completely change of philosophy. I would say our philosophy over the last 5, 6, 7 years here that I've been at Utah State a lot closer resembled the new change in philosophy with the practices in NCAA.
How different will the offense be under Coach Yost, and what's going to remain the same? Is it going to be drastically different?
No, we're still playing with, some no huddle. We've played no huddle since I've been here. The first year of no huddle, it was the slowest no huddle in Division I football, but we were no huddle in the media guide. But we were really slow. We were going to hand it to Robert Turbin a whole lot, and Mike Smith and Kerwin. Then the next year we had bits and pieces of pace. We're just going to play with more pace to the offense. In some ways, it'll be simpler just in terms of maybe on the board stuff, but you're playing faster. We want to be very aggressive with down the field throws. You always have to run the ball. We are not going to become a throwing team in terms of every down or a significant part. Somebody told me, is Coach Yost going to do everything at Washington State because he was with Leach? We will not be throwing it 70 times a game. That's for Luke Falk to crush it in the Pac-12, and I'm happy for him. In Washington, we are not going to be that. There's still a good, mix, but it's in terms of getting your ball in your hands of your playmakers. What do I hope will change? Points on the scoreboard, which helps us win games.
Has it helped, talking about the running backs, has it helped? These guys got more reps last year because the number one guy went down.
Right.
Has that experience helped them? Do you see kind of a front runner in the running backs group?
That game experience absolutely helps. You make a great point. Unfortunately, maybe the result of someone else's injury, that's not what you want, but all three of those backs, LaJuan Hunt, Tony Lindsay, and Justin Hervey. Tony became the everyday starter as the season went on and had a very solid year. Now, El Toro Allen is going to get added to that mix, the junior college transfer this summer. Coach Tomerdahl, I thought, did a nice job in the spring of rewarding performance in the spring the next day with the ones. And so you're going to see probably a little bit of a revolving door with those running backs throughout the beginning of training camp.
Coach, you mentioned the 4 quarters of the year.
Yep.
Are there any guys who you've seen kind of stand out in the first 3 quarters that performance that carries into that 4th quarter? I guess who are some of the summer standouts in terms of working out?
Summer standouts. Great question. Just let me pause for 2 seconds here. I mentioned Wale earlier. He's really changed his body. Dax Raymond has lost weight and body fat, and I could go on and on, but you guys have all seen, Twitter's a powerful thing, isn't it? You guys have all seen body transformations on there. I'm thinking, how about a guy like Roman Andrews? Y'all aren't going to write about him. I get it. It's an old lineman, and his mom and Coach Farmer and I are, that's who we're going to talk about. Y'all won't, and that's fine. But, I mean, that's a 270-pound defensive lineman at Snow that came here and is now 290, lost body fat. And his transformation just in 8 months is good. Quinn Ficklin really increased his strength quite a bit over 8 months, and that's an older guy. It's hard to do. There are Chase Christiansen had a tremendous summer, and when you just look at weight gain, body fat loss, all those kind of things, I kind of gave you some highlights. There are many, many more, and it'd be impossible to go through all of them, or even the majority of them.
And last question for Coach Wells. Quarterbacks, how are they picking up?
I almost got out of this without talking about the QBs. We can keep going. What?
So just talk a little bit about the quarterback situation, and obviously Kent being the 4-year starter coming back.
Well, at the end of spring, Kent distanced himself, and I said that at the end of spring. He distanced himself from those guys in that room and played well as the spring ended. Hopefully tomorrow looks like practice 16 to him coming right off spring. We don't go backwards, really with all of them, but especially in that QB room. DJ Nelson, Jordan Love, and now add Henry Columby to the mix. It's going to be a competitive room. There's going to be some times where you may see some of those other quarterbacks actually going with the ones. I want Kent to re-earn that spot. I want him to distance himself if that's going to happen, because it's a competitive nature. We're in a competitive business. It's a competitive room. If another one of those quarterbacks has the ability to overtake a guy, I want them to have that opportunity. So it's a competitive room, and you want that. You want every spot to be competitive. If we had to play today, he would start. There's no question.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
We good?
Yeah.
Wow, for real? Okay.
Senior quarterback Kent Myers. Kent will give an opening comment on what's been going on this summer and looking forward to camp starting, and then you guys can ask a few questions.
This summer has been going really well with the team. A lot of receivers stepping up. You know, Tarvert has always been a leader on the offense, but also we're having Jordan Nathan really step up. Jaron Coaston Green and Dax is finally back. I've only played one game with him in 2 years, so I'm excited that he's back. A lot of new old linemen that have came and, you know, made big strides. But I think this year, you know, we're taking it personal this year. You know, we're not happy with the 3-9 record that we had last year, and you know, we got to come back and we got to change it. That's not the culture of the brotherhood, things like that we have here. So we're gonna have to change something, and you know, the coaches don't have to motivate us. That's just what we want to do. So we're confident that we can compete in this conference. It's gonna be some tough games, but we will hang in there and we will win a lot of games. And I'm confident that we'll make it to the Mountain West Championship this year.
So being quarterback and having, you know, so much turnover on the offensive line, does that worry you that you're not going to get the protection you need, or do you have confidence in these guys that, you know, because you've got to know them by now?
I have confidence, you know. I have confidence in all my guys, and I think the coaches have confidence in them for them to be in the role that they have as a starting guy, to really come in and not have any experience here at Utah State. But, you know, I'm very confident. I've gotten really familiar with a lot of them. And, you know, we're working together this summer, and, you know, I'm ready for fall camp to see what they can do in pads, but I'm sure they're going to do amazing this fall camp and this season.
From what Coach Wells has said, have you got an inkling of how practices might be different this fall?
I know that, you know, we can't have 2-a-days, but I'm sure we're going to have a long run through or something like that. But, you know, I'm just really, you know, just going out there and just prepare for anything. You know, I don't really know what's going to happen or how practice really will be, but, you know, we're prepared for it and we're ready to get after it.
As a senior, what do you work on, or what are you trying to improve on?
First, my leadership. I think it just starts with that. That's the main thing, because without leaders on the team, you can have the most talented team in the world, but if you don't have leaders to kind of motivate your guys and keep everything up to par, then your team can, you know, break down. And last year, you know, I was a leader as well, and I think we had some pretty good leaders, but I think that we can always improve on something. I think that's one of them. We went 3-9. I think that if we would have said something a little bit sooner, you know, it's always what ifs. Our season would have turned around, especially with the number of close games that we had. So hopefully we can change that this year.
You mentioned the targets. Sorry, you mentioned the targets you have to throw to. A lot of guys returning. some big targets to throw to this year. But what about the running backs? A lot of these guys are back too, and you're in the backfield together. Just their development and what you've noticed.
There's a lot to say about them. You know, we have Tony Lindsay, Lawan Hunt, and Justin Hervey, 3 running backs that can start in, you know, any program. And it's hard for us to have 3 running backs, but I think, you know, we're going to make it happen. I think they show the ability, and they've showed stuff over the summer that, you know, they will somehow get on the field if it's at running back, kickoff return or whatever, but a lot of people will get a lot of time at running back. But just with that, you know, they've been working hard. Doing a lot of good pass blocking. I think that's the major thing that we had to improve on. I think they've done well with that this summer. But with that, you know, like I said, they all have something that they're good at, and I think that will really help us.
Kent, is your leadership style more talking to someone on the sidelines during a game to improve on something, or is it maybe like privately at a different moment finding them and talking to them?
I'm not the most vocal guy, but I feel like, you know, I show my leadership on and off the field, as in just the things, how I carry myself. That's just how I was raised, and I just think with that, you know, everybody is coached differently. Everybody takes things differently. So I feel like I've gotten to know a lot of our teammates, and I know how people react. You know, some people like you being in their face and telling them that. Some people like you know, kind of pulling them aside and saying it, you know, because they'll feel embarrassed or something like that. So I feel like I've gotten familiar with all my teammates where I know how to come at them and approach them in that way.
Can we talk a little about Coach Yost and what he brings to the table, not just with X's and O's, but like his personality, what makes him the right guy for the job?
I think Coach Yost is the right man for the job, just because, you know, he's a family guy. You know, he told us this summer, kind of enjoy, you know, we've been in here grinding this entire summer and the spring, but kind of enjoy your time away from football for a little bit so we can be fresh when we come. And just with that, you know, I think that he's a laid-back coach, and I think that's how we all like to be coached, as in he won't yell at us right then and there, but he's like, hey, you know, come aside, and he'll talk to us, or when we go watch film, you know, he'll critique us in that way. And I think that's what really makes him best for the job, because just like I said about my leadership, he knows how to approach people. He knows how he's seen how I react to certain things, how DJ and Jordan, how all the quarterbacks, you know, we all, you know, take things differently. And I think that he's really good at that with the entire team.
Are you expecting any differences as far as how much you run, deep passing, short passes, anything like that? What are the differences?
I think last year in the past we've been doing a lot of you know, sideways passes, not really getting up the field as often as we want. But I think we're going to spread the field out and also go vertical a lot. So with that, I think actually I know that we're going to score a lot of points. And that's just how the offense is made, is for us to get a lot of yards and a lot of points. So really with that, you know, how we prepare and how, I mean, for you to lose is kind of you beating yourself. You know, we're playing ourselves. Like, nobody's going to stop us but ourselves is what I'm trying to say. So with that, you know, we got to go out there. I got to complete the ball. They got to catch it. So everything's there for us. So it's just how we go out there and play our game.
Coach Wells talked about how there will still be, you obviously have the most experience, more starts than anybody else, but there will still be some competition with the quarterback position. So what do you feel like you need to do to make sure you ensure you remain the starter and the leader for the offense?
I mean, it's always competition. I think at every position, nobody's safe. You know, for the best guys in the league right now, I think they still got to compete for their spot, and that's kind of how it is. Because when you don't have that competitive nature, you kind of become complacent, kind of, you know, try to get by. But I think with the competition, he's telling me that, and he's telling everybody that, for me to push myself. But for me personally, you know, I'm going to be who I am, who I've always been. I'm in no competition with anybody but myself. That's the main thing. So I know what I got to do to get myself better. And, you know, like I said, I've been working hard this summer because I worked hard last summer, but it didn't go as planned as a team and for my personal goals. And so, you know, I'm taking this year personal. So everything that I've done, you know, is going to come out to show. So I think that's it.
Anything else for Kent? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Daniel? Okay, senior defensive back Jalen Davis. Jalen's going to give us an opening comment on what they did this summer and looking forward to camp starting, and then you can take some questions.
Oh man, this team looking really good right now. Not gonna lie, not gonna sugarcoat anything. This team looking unbelievable. This summer has been great. I'm seeing a lot of progress from everybody. The leaders stepping up, the people just in the middle stepping up, becoming leaders. We getting the new guys right, all the new guys starting to step up. So it's just looking real good. It's looking real good this year. I can't wait for fall camp to start.
Was last year just kind of a wake-up sign, or what did it take something like that to maybe take the next step?
Yeah, last year was disappointing, to say the least. But once we got that out the way, now it's time to go. It's time to roll. No more sugarcoat nothing. We're going to tell you how it is straight up, and we're going to get things done the Aggie way.
Jalen, I mean, we've all seen the social media transformations. And I saw yours personally. You gained like 30 pounds since your freshman
Yep.
year. Is that what it is?
Yep.
I mean, remarkable work in the weight room. How much did last season kind of fuel your guys' collective fire in the weight room?
A lot. Because we just felt like we just wasn't all there last year. So we just know this year we just had to push it in the weight room. By all means, go as hard as possible, just strain ourselves to do it, to be as best as we can be, to lift as much as we can be, to run as fast as we can, and just keep everybody pushing, keep everything going along the correct way.
Going along with that is how important are the those cornerbacks and defensive backs coming up and making tackles? It seemed like last year quite a few long runs were broken. How important are the cornerbacks stopping the run?
Oh, really important. We're going to be in that run game this year. That's a fact. We're going to be in that run game this year. Ain't going to be no missed tackles. Like I said, we just didn't sugarcoat it with nobody on the team. We talked to each and every one of us had a talking with each other saying, you need to get better on this, you need to get better on that, you're going to do this better, you're going to do that better. So this year is going to be great.
Who were some of the leaders on that defense, and how do they lead, I guess?
Well, Dallin, he's a great leader. He's a very vocal leader. He's the main one who's just telling people straight up just how he feels and how everything is going to work out. I just can't wait for the season. I just can't wait for this season. A lot of people doubting us, and I just can't wait to just prove everybody wrong.
Who are some of the young guys that you really see stepping up on the defense this year?
Well, I see Cam Haney stepping up as a corner. I see Jamarcus stepping up as a corner. And I see a lot of new guys who looking really good out there. So I can't wait for fall camp to see how they do, see how they react when they in that situation, and how they gonna tackle and all that stuff. So I can't wait.
What do you expect from the linebackers?
I expect nothing but excellence. I expect nothing but to be perfection out there. That's it. Just perfection is what we need this year. Just perfection out there.
Are there any guys that are kind of separating themselves? It seems like there's a lot of guys that could step up and take
Yes,
that.
Justice stepping up, Chase stepping up. They all just getting all the linebackers just on point. They know in the defense, like back of their hand, they know everything to it. So this is gonna be good.
Coach said he did a lot of reevaluation of how they did things in the off season. What about you personally? Did you feel, and the other guys on the team, did you guys kind of do this reevaluation process?
Yes, we did. Like I said, we talked to everybody, just reevaluating ourselves to seeing what we can do better, what we need to improve on, and we all got little things that we need to improve on, and mainly just being more aggressive.
Probably unquestionably the most experienced group on defense is your group. So how does the team take advantage of that in the best way, do you think?
Man, just by leadership, just us in the back end is leading everybody, bringing everybody along, us in the back end making plays, so then everybody else gonna start making plays. The D-line gonna start making plays, linebacker gonna start making plays, offense gonna start making plays. So we just feed that energy off of us.
This is your senior year. How important is it, I guess, to go out on a high note, and what are your goals personally to make sure that you finish, your last year right?
Man, these years went by fast. I was just a freshman a couple years ago, now I'm just a senior. And after last year, I'm not going out like that. I'm not going to have none of that be tolerated. So, and then personally, I'm going to be all Mount West. Personally, I'm going to be all Mount West. So that's going to help me and my team out.
Coach Wilkes mentioned 6 returning quarterback starters in the non-division this year. Is there anyone in particular that you're looking forward to facing up against?
They all going to get this work.
Anything else for Jalen? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.